So you're ultimately improving your situation in most cases. And we see that, you know, it's very rare that keeping the pension and going ahead and annuitizing that pension for that lifetime income benefit, it's very rare that we see that as the right decision. We're talking about something most retirees wish they had, and that's a pension. And most importantly, how to recreate one if you don't have one.
Yeah, and what we're diving into today is really just the pros and cons of keeping that existing pension that you've got, that traditional pension, versus taking a lump sum of money and rolling that into an annuity with a lifetime income guarantee.
Yeah, so once upon a time, pensions were the gold standard. You work for 30 years and boom, monthly checks for life.
Yeah, and really, when we look at it today, who's lucky enough to have a pension? It's about 15% of the private sector that actually have a defined benefit pension. Like we've talked about before, I've said this on previous episodes, is just that now we're left to figure it out. And I didn't ever take a class in high school or college to figure out what to do with a 401k and how to manage retirement.
Yeah, the 401k was touted as the benefit to the people. Um, in exchange for getting a pension, you got access to a 401k, which allows you to write off your contributions to that 401k each year against your earned income. There was bias there, and that was simply because they knew that money would now start flowing into Wall Street, and they would be able to charge their fees and their commissions and all those things that go along with that. And it was all touted to be this great thing. But really, what it was it was the corporations that were benefiting the most because they were able to take that risky asset in what we are calling a pension and remove that from their balance sheet. When they had those pension funds that they were responsible for, it really posed a lot of risk to the corporations, and it was long-term risk that a lot of those risks were really unknown. With people aging and getting healthier, and living a longer life, that longevity risk was prevalent. And so the corporations saw that, they were privy to it, and they ended up, really getting behind the 401k. So, with that being said, even for those that are still lucky enough today to have a pension, many are now being offered a lump sum option, especially in corporate America. And we're actually hearing from the research studies that most people are considering that lump sum option. And while I do believe that can be a good decision, and it probably is the right decision in most cases, I think giving up a guaranteed income stream is a bad decision. And the reason I feel that way is because of the research that shows that having a guaranteed income stream in combination with Social Security is the optimal way to create that foundation of retirement income. And what else that leads to and optimizes is being able to stay disciplined in the rest of your estate and assets, with those investments now being growth assets that are outside of that guaranteed income foundation, and that those can now stay true to the markets and grow over time, so that you have a lump sum that's building and building and building, and being it can then be utilized for things like leisure, contingencies, unexpected spending shocks, and ultimately legacy. So foregoing the guaranteed income stream, in my opinion, is not the right thing to do unless you have that covered with other guaranteed sources.
If we're not moving forward with that pension, or if you just want to compare, then we take a look at it from that angle. And that's where we really define that lump sum buyout, right? So that lump sum buyout, when your employer offers to give you that, it's your pension money now. It's in a lump sum instead of paying you out monthly for your life.
But the big question here becomes, what do you even do with that lump sum? And I know most people are just thinking that they'll just put it in the market and grow it, and as long as they are able to grow it, they should be able to siphon off some of that growth to support their income needs. And our last episode, we determined through the research from Dalbar that ultimately that's a recipe for disaster, because when you treat your market accounts as your primary source of income, that's where it evokes that emotion of fear and greed and regret. And when you have those emotions, it behaviorally, the psychology right behind those is that we start to look at these assets differently with preservation in mind, and we know that we need to preserve them and hope that they last. No one can do it with optimal consistent approach. And what happens is that you leave all those gains and potential gains in the future on the table because you were trying to time getting out of the market in fear of losing. And that's where you're really creating a recipe for disaster there.
With the idea being that pension to get you some type of lifetime income, well, maybe there's an option to consider a fixed index annuity with an income rider. An annuity can be a solution to provide that lifetime of income because they can really turn that lump sum into that guaranteed income stream, just like a pension. We use that word a lot, flexibility, with an annuity.
So we really want to talk about the pension versus the annuity comparison, and really what are the benefits if you are considering taking the lump sum, um, versus keeping the pension income. Again, I would urge you, if you don't have enough income just from your social security, which again most people will not, simply because social security by design was only supposed to cover up to 40% of your total living expenses. And if you have this pension, it's a great opportunity for another guaranteed income stream that you can leverage to supplement Social Security and then build that solid foundation of retirement income that you won't outlive. And I do believe that if you're going to take the lump sum, you should be at least considering positioning a portion of that lump sum to secure guaranteed income outside of that pension, which would be in the form of an income annuity. And we're in the process right now of weighing out the benefits of keeping his pension versus, um, you know, taking the lump sum and then repositioning some of it for income and then the rest for growth. And what we're finding is that there's immense benefits in taking the lump sum, but those benefits really come from having more flexibility and optionality of what he does with that money, while also still keeping the top priority and objective secure, and that is taking care of the income equation in his retirement plan. So we're just repositioning it. And by repositioning those lump sum funds, we're still getting the same benefits of having the pension in the form of a guaranteed income stream to supplement his Social Security. But we're also giving him and his wife and his family potentially, his beneficiaries, more flexibility, optionality, and growth potential, so that it's just setting up, it's optimizing the rest of his plan. It's giving him a lot of optionality as he moves to and through retirement. So if his needs ever change in the future, or maybe he lives a shorter life than anticipated, that money that he's repositioning into the income annuity, there will be a death benefit there so that his heirs can receive that money.
And part of it is just the comparison is, hey, if you know you've got an option coming available soon with your pension to either take a lump sum or begin that income, why not take a look at an annuity just to know which option is better in terms of just the income piece alone? One thing that you had brought up that I thought was important to hit on was that spousal continuance, the second key point of those features, and how that might affect your client.
Yeah, ultimately the main benefit to anybody considering repositioning the lump sum funds into an income annuity is that you're maintaining control over those funds. When you annuitize a pension, or even an annuity for that matter, you relinquish control of the asset, so of the principal account value. And when you look at the indexed annuity with a lifetime income rider, the main benefit is that you're not relinquishing control over that principal account value.